Baba Nityananda. Nobody knows to whom he was born or the date he was born or even where he was born. He was found as an infant in a forest. A woman was collecting wood and heard crows cawing their lungs out. It was as though they were attracting her attention, and when she reached the spot she saw an infant wrapped in a cloth. She picked up the child and gave the child to a friend who could not conceive a child. The lady worked as a servant in a Brahmin lawyer's house. Ishwar Iyer fell in love with the child and they named the child Ram. Baba Nityananda as a child suffered from some serious ailment which no doctor could cure. One day his foster mother took him in her arms and went walking into a jungle, and there to her surprise was a dark-skinned stranger who gave the foster mother some powder and told her that if this powder was mixed with the flesh of a freshly killed crow, fried in clarified butter and applied onto the baby, and the blood of the crow rubbed all over the child's body, the baby would be cured. The foster mother nodded, wondering where on earth was she ever going to get a freshly killed crow, when another man appeared, another stranger, and gave the mother a freshly killed crow. The mother was still in shock. She looked at the dead crow, and when looked up, both the men had disappeared. She followed the instructions, and within days the child had recovered, but the application of the strange mixture changed the color of the child's skin, from light brown to a dark bluish brown skin, which remained for the rest of Baba Nityananda's physical life. If ever anybody asked Baba Nityananda about his birth and childhood, the master would reply that a crow came and a crow left. Now Mr. Iyer was very fond of the child, and when Ram's foster mother died, the lawyer adopted the child as his own. The good and kind-hearted lawyer, that itself is an oxymoron and a miracle, began to take Baba Nityananda for pilgrimages, and the child would explain to the lawyer about various paranormal mysteries and spiritual realities. The lawyer realized that the child was not a normal being and got more attached to Ram. When the child was 10 years old, on a pilgrimage to Benares, the child told the lawyer that now he would have to take leave as he had to follow his destiny. The lawyer tried his best to dissuade the child, but Ram's mind was made up. He promised the lawyer that he would meet him again, but after a while, not before giving Mr. Iyer a divine vision. For the next 6 years or so, Baba Nityananda, still known as Ram, traveled the length and breadth of the Himalayas, and to many he was already known as the great Kundalini yogi of the Himalayas. Mr. Iyer kept waiting for Ram. He was in reality heartbroken. But he consoled himself that Ram had promised him that before he died Ram would visit him once more, and thus one day, the ailing lawyer saw Ram enter his abode again, and in ecstasy he cried out, "Nityananda! Nityananda!" which means endless bliss. From then onwards Ram was known as Nityananda. He took the lawyer to the city of Udupi for the darshan of Krishna and the Ananteshwar temple, where Nityananda told Mr. Iyer and later to his devotees that when the Ananteshwar temple was being constructed roughly 400 years before, he had been present then too. They returned home and Mr. Iyer became very ill. He whispered to Nityananda that he had worshipped the sun god, Bharga, all his life, and that he wanted to have a vision of Bharga before he left his body. Baba Nityananda smiled and touched Mr. Iyer's third eye, and the good lawyer experienced the vision of Bharga, and with that vision he passed over. Baba Nityananda then went to Ceylon, Rangoon, Burma and even Singapore. When World War I began, he was forcibly made to enroll into the British Army. But when the doctors could not locate his heart or hear the beating of a heartbeat nor find a single pulse in his body, They out of sheer fright made sure he was not enlisted into the army. Baba Nityananda's very life was a miracle. He could heal by giving a leaf to the sick, and when the leaf was used externally or internally, the illness would disappear. He could materialize money out of thin air to feed the poor or pay for the services of the work which he wanted to be done. He loved to sit in trains, and once when a station master refused to let Nityananda travel in the train, Nityananda alighted from the train, but the darn train would not move. Eventually the passengers pleaded with Nityananda to enter the train, and only then did the train move. Baba Nityananda through his love had many devotees from a young age, but many who were jealous. Once two men tied a cloth drenched in kerosene around Nityananda's hand and lit the cloth up. The master looked with childlike innocence at the burning cloth around his hand, but could not understand why the men who had tried to harm him were in anguish as their hands were on fire. It was only when they removed the cloth from the master's hand that they managed to stop their hands from being burnt. Once somebody tried to kill Baba Nityananda, and the assassin was apprehended. The man's arm which had tried to strike the master was caught mid-air. No amount of effort could bring the arm back to its normal position till the master decided to have pity on the assassin and touched the arm, and it came down to its original anatomical position. But the police apprehended the daft assassin. Baba Nityananda wanted the police to release the man. They refused. So for 3 days Baba Nityananda sat outside the prison, on a fast, till the police under severe pressure from the devotees released the assassin. The man became a lifelong devotee of the Master. In 1925, Nityananda settled briefly in the Kanhangad area and began the construction of the Sunset Caves. It was a mammoth project which needed expertise and lots of money. Baba Nityananda began carving the caves from the rock hills of the area, and in a short while 40 such caves were dug, which had 6 entrances, 3 facing the east direction and 3 facing the west direction. The payment was done in a more unusual fashion. Baba Nityananda would direct the foreman and his men to a certain tree where the right amount of money would be lying on the ground at the base of the tree. Sometimes Baba Nityananda would get all the workers lined up, open and close his empty fist, and money would fall into the empty palms of the workers, exactly the money owed to each, depending upon their expertise and seniority. The work on the caves was completed around 1933, and Baba Nityananda again took to travelling. 3 years later he entered Ganeshpuri, never to leave the place till his Mahasamadhi on 8th August 1961. Baba Nityananda loved children and made various schools and playgrounds, and made certain the children were taught music, languages, sports and cultural activities. He, like Baba Sai of Shirdi, truly loved children. The miracles never stopped, and once he had readied Swami Muktananda to spread the message of oneness and to give Shaktipat, the power to awaken the Kundalini energy by touch, sight, sound. He began to prepare others of his Samadhi. Baba Nityananda was never seen in prayer, but always in prayer, and made his very life a prayer. He was always with the One, and very often would say aloud the all-pervasive word, Am, which according to sages is the all-pervasive sound of creation and the sound the cosmos sings while it moves at an amazing speed through the ether of creation. Baba Nityananda would once in a while speak about Lord Shiva, Lord Krishna and Lord Ayappa, who is also known as Lord Murugan, and Lord Kartikeya, the son of Lord Shiva and Ma Parvati. Baba Nityananda had a strong connect with the goddess energy. In fact, Ma Bhadrakali, it is said, was always with him. Baba Nityananda was very clear that each and everyone needed a guru or a master to move forward on the path, reach the destination and merge in the ocean of oneness. He made it clear that all should follow their respective religions, and if they had a guru, be true to their guru, love the guru and know that it was eventually the guru who would lead them to salvation by helping them navigate through the sinking sand of Maya and karma, illusions and the law of cause and effect. Once he had plucked out a hair from his head and showed Baburao Khade the root of the hair and said in his deep voice that, if you have faith of the size of this hair root, it is more than enough. He was very clear that there was no need for renunciation and hard-chop penance. One needed to perform one's duties with complete sincerity, and to strive for excellence was virtually an act of spirituality for Baba Nityananda. Thus, do your duty, striving for excellence, and leave the rest to one's master. He often emphasized the need of respecting elders, helping those who were poor, lending a helping hand to the underprivileged and those in need, a special need for educating those who had the desire to be educated but didn't have the money for education, and then if you had the time, it should be spent in what he called sadhana. Now his very concept of sadhana was also different. It could mean prayer, meditation, chanting, reading works of masters, holy books, and also spend time in devotional music, in the form of bhajans and Sufi music. He was of the opinion that one of the ways to spiritual oneness was via music, again something similar to what Sai Baba of Shirdi believed in completely. Both the giants were not much in favor of giving lectures on spirituality, and they would speak a few lines and it was left for the spiritual seeker to go to the heart of the matter and follow the vision and foundation that was built in those few lines. And he was as unorthodox as Baba Sai. For those who were already high up on the spiritual ladder, only then would Baba Nityananda go beyond religion and guru and guide the aspirant according to the needs of the seeker. Like once he told Shaligram Swami to go to Haji Malang, the shrine of a powerful Sufi saint, and Alandi, where Lord Dineshwar Maharaj's Samadhi resides. It is a known fact that the goddess walked along with Baba Nityananda. Though he rarely revealed much about himself, he had divulged that he had stationed Ma Mahasati at Ankola as goddess Mastikata and Ma Bhadrakali who had followed him. He had stationed at the outskirts or beginning of Ganesh Puri. In fact, there is a beautiful story of how Ma Bhadrakali came to stay at Ganesh Puri. Ganesh Puri was completely developed the time Baba Nityananda had decided to take Samadhi. Like Sai Baba of Shirdi, Baba Nityananda too was more and more saddened that nobody came for what he wanted to offer, but all were only interested in worldly benefits, and the worst part of it all was that even after granting their wishes, nobody seemed to be satisfied but only wanted more and more wishes to be granted and still not seek what he truly wanted to bestow, his spiritual gems and gifts. Thus, on August 7 in 1961, late in the evening, Baba Nityananda told his devotees that the next day he would leave his body. One of the devotees stayed back heartbroken, pleading with the master to change his decision. He wept and pleaded to such an extent that Baba Nityananda looked at him and said, "It is possible only if a few devotees come forward and make a request, not any devotees but those imbued with desire less devotion, bhava feeling, and prema love. Even one such is enough and the samadhi will be cancelled." When such a devotee is present, even God cannot take leave without his permission, or be able to disengage himself from the bond of his pure love. But as expected, there was not one such disciple in the thousands of devotees. Not one who could claim that he or she only loved Baba Nityananda for who he was and not what he could give. It was a sad night for the devotees, but I guess Baba Nityananda must have been heartbroken, as the realization of the fact that in the throngs of countless devotees he had no disciples who could claim to love him only for him and not the perks a master could grant. Thus the next day, towards noon, Baba Nityananda took one deep breath, a truly deep breath, and his chest expanded. He then straightened his legs, covered his hands over his stomach and released his soul to merge with the One. One of his last insights into the workings of God and Masters was when he told his devotees, when asked as to what benefits would avail those who served perfect Masters. Baba Nityananda seemed upset over such a self-centered question. He replied in a soft but angry voice, "Who wants seva? Does God ask to be worshipped? It is the man who does so to get something out of God. Go back and do your duty without desire for any fruit and without sacrificing efficiency. That is the highest seva that you can render. As for spiritual progress, the essential thing is vairagya, detachment from worldliness. Without that there can be no progress. The ocean has plenty of water. It is the size of the container brought to collect it that determines the quantity taken.